And I did, in fact, spray myself in the face with gasoline one time.
What?
Yeah, it happened. I remember just being on the front page of YouTube a lot when that was a thing. I want someone that is really hardball because my goal is just to make a ton of money. You know, some people, that's their goal.
Hey everyone, this is Erin Ashley Simon. Welcome to Real Gems. Today's guest is an influential musician and gamer, as well as a lead vocalist for the group Against the Current. Today we're going to be talking about her music journey and how she's been able to tap into other areas to elevate her passion in the music space, as well as the creativity that goes behind her music. Please welcome the one and only Chrissy Costanza. Chrissy, it's good to have you.
Hello.
I think this is the first time we've ever had an official convo / interview ever.
I think so too. Also, I don't think I've ever sat in an armchair like this for an interview. So I feel I feel like I should have a cup of coffee and be like, good morning, welcome to whatever, Erin's morning talk show.
Welcome. It's chill, it's vibe. I want to have a very homey feel, very chill.
They're also spinny.
I know. Isn't it fun?
I know. It's distracting. Okay, sorry.
Well, Chrissy, everyone knows you are a musician. You have a band. Also, by the way, before we get to his first question, I saw you perform for the first time. You're a whole different person.
Okay, I have gotten that a lot more recently. I guess with the pandemic, I made a lot more friends without music first as meeting them. So even my own partner we started dating during the pandemic, and a year into it finally saw me live for the first time and was like, well, there's a whole second one of you. And I was like, I guess so. So yeah, there's Chrissy and there's Christina. Chrissy's really cool. Christina just sits at home and eats an entire pint of Ben & Jerry's in one sitting. So that's, two extremes. Balance.
But I feel I don't know. I feel like since video, they're both one. There is no two. It's just Chrissy.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, I also met you in New Jersey too, so maybe that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Jersey. For all I don't know, we're from Jersey. We got the Jersey love going on over here.
We'll be really obnoxious about it the entire time, probably. I should not be allowed to drive. It's a thing.
What?
No, I'm such a bad driver. I don't know if were you more of a commuter or were you a driver in Jersey?
I did both.
Okay,
I
drove a lot. I'm a really bad driver. And people in New Jersey, you don't pump your own gas, obviously.
Yeah.
Moving to California was a whole thing for me, learning how, I was so stressed about it, and I did, in fact, spray myself in the face with gasoline one time.
What?
Yeah, it happened.
Girl.
I've never heard of anyone else doing it either, so it's not my finest moment, but, it happened, and we learned, and now I drive an electric vehicle, so.
No more gas in the face, We gotta protect the goods up there. So I just want to give a base level of your journey and your experience, because for those who maybe tuning in for the first time, coming across you,
okay,
just get to know you a little bit more. So you're an artist, you had original music, plus did YouTube covers. Talk to us a little about your journey as a musician, how it began, and what inspired you to pursue this type of career.
So I always wanted to do music. There was never a beginning. It was kind of just an omnipresent force in my life since I was, my earliest memories. And when I was around, I think I was 9, my mom got me my first guitar. I started writing little songs, just thought it was really cool. And then when I was around, I think I was 11 or 12, I went to see my essentially cousin play, who's a few years older than me. He had a local band in New Jersey. He was playing a repurposed firehouse. There was 20 people there. He was on stage barefoot, and I thought he was the coolest person that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was like, this is the pinnacle of life, and this is all I want to do is be in a band now. And then I met my bandmates through some mutual friends and MySpace, which just aged me a little bit, but in MySpace, they had a MySpace page, and they had songs that they had recorded and uploaded, and I was like, this is the pinnacle of success. They've recorded their own music. And they were from an hour and a half away. And I marched into my mom's room at midnight one night and was like, Mother, I would like you to drive me 2 hours north of our house and let me meet some boys that I met on the internet so I can be in their rock band. And that conversation went about as well as you'd think it would. But eventually my mom and their moms all talked and got along and were friends, and we met, and the rest is kind of history. But we were 15 at the time, so we couldn't really tour. We were all in school. So we started doing these YouTube covers while we were also releasing our own music. And it was just a way for us to, connect with people around the world. And it ended up going super viral. This was kind of in the early days of YouTube, that first generation of YouTubers and YouTube artists and YouTube vloggers. And I remember just being on the front page of YouTube a lot when that was a thing, and kind of walking into high school and people being like, hey, I saw you on the front page of YouTube last night, and me wanting to disappear in high school being like, yeah, that was someone else. Like, we just look alike. It's my cousin or something. And so that kind of started us off on having a global audience without ever leaving our parents' basements for a while. And then we started touring, and now here we are.
I think that's great that you started at such a young age. Same thing happened to me. I started my media career at probably like 16, 17. I had a blog, and it got to the point where like top basketball players would like give me like where they're going to college and information, and then got to the point where like people from ESPN,
so cool.
CBS, Fox Sports were reading my blog.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Not a lot of people know about that story. Yeah, I started at a very young age, and then it was from there that I met my mentors, and then started like working for like Red Bull and Converse and all that. So I started very, very young as well.
Dang, that's so fun.
I know.
That's sick.
It's crazy though, because I feel like back then, like starting young now, at least you have a blueprint.
Yeah.
Like back then, it was a wild, wild west. You didn't even know like what would work or anything. So like when you're making these YouTube covers and these videos and getting your music out, like what was that process like? What was the creative process behind it? Was it just kind of like, I'm just going to make what I love and just put it out there and just let's see where it goes?
Yeah, and I think that was what was kind of beautiful about it though, is that because there wasn't a blueprint, people were just doing what they loved to do and what made them happy and what was fun. And yeah, we started figuring out, okay, this really works and this doesn't. But I do think it's some of the industries, be it music or esports or I'm sure sports, media, etc., have become a little vapid because there is such a strong blueprint now. So people are like, hey, I'm just going to plug and play this blueprint. Whereas back then it was kind of self-discovery and just, I love music and I want to make music somehow, and that was really it. There was kind of this first wave of artists that were doing covers on YouTube. So we kind of all emulated each other and learned from each other and cross-collaborated a lot. But besides that, there wasn't 10 years of kind of blueprints to follow and be like, oh, I'm going to do it just like this person and kind of walk in their footsteps. So, because we look back now and we see like bands or artists doing what we did and following that path, and which is really cool. But it was nice to kind of just find that path, if that makes sense. And it, we didn't do anything that we didn't want to do because we felt like we had to do it. We were like, oh, this is the way you do it. Like, no, I don't want to do that. Just don't do it. Like, I want to do that. Okay, do it,
Yeah.
That was it. It was very much, we loved what we were doing.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel like you still do no matter what. Like, you're very much like an artist and creator who, we just talked about it. You're like, I don't care who has what numbers or what. I just like doing things I like to do, which I think is something that I really appreciate and admired from you.
Thanks.
In terms of that. And I'm also very curious because, like, I'm not, okay, I love music, but I'm not, obviously I don't write music.
Yeah.
I worked in the music industry. I love music. I listen to your music too. It's very strange because like I'm like, wow, I have to remind myself, this is Chrissy. Like this, like it's like even like the voice and the tone so different.
Very different, yeah.
But when you're in the process, your creative process of creating a song, like how do you take it from an idea to pen and paper? Like what is that process for you?
I think it's the same feeling that you'd follow with any kind of creative project, is that at least for me, there's kind of this like nebulous feeling that I want to capture. And then it's just finding what fits to that. For me, I really love the whole picture. I don't really consider myself, like I wouldn't label myself a songwriter. I've written all of our songs. A lot of them have been collaborations, etc. But that's not what I'm like, oh, I am a songwriter. That's what I'm excellent at. That's what I love. I do love making music, but I like building the whole world. And that to me involves the music video, the visuals, the tone, the wardrobe for it, and the song as like the soundtrack to it. So I like the whole thing. that's what is to me really fun. I grew up reading a ton, and I loved just the feeling of worlds. I grew up a huge fantasy nerd, and I'm still a huge fantasy nerd, and I just would love the feeling of these epic worlds. Like, what do they feel like? What do they sound like? What do they smell like? What do they taste like? You know, what's the food? And I kind of want that same experience for music, is just building out a world. And we're really lucky we've brought on a creative team, essentially, that's part of our management team now, that we worked with on our last EP, and that has that same ideology. And so for me, it's the most fun I've ever had, because I hate just song, push, sorry about that, sir. You know, like, make the song, push it out, do the marketing campaign, go on to the next one. To me, I want it to feel like a universe. I want it to feel like it has a body to it, and you can enter this world and you can leave this world.
That's deep.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like my little, it's like you know, like when kids make pretend but on roids. So,
no, I think that's really cool. It's that feeling. It's very interesting, because I think that, like, that feeling does apply to just any creative process. Because so for me, whenever there's something that I want to make, like, it's always that feeling of like, this feels right. This is something I want to do. This is something I feel like is important. And then from there, it's just adding the building blocks. For me, it's adding the building blocks in terms of, like, setting up production and getting things together.
Yeah.
And yours is like the lyrics, the aesthetics, the vibe, and everything like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of vibes, do you how often do you stretch your back? Because you do that back bend thing, and girl, when I saw you do the first time, I'm like, ooh, that made my back hurt.
Yeah. I started doing that as a mistake, and
wait, what?
It's a mistake that I've now very much committed to. I don't know. I just, like, it was one of our earliest shows ever, and I kind of, like, leaned back a little bit and, like, flipped my head forward, and my hair, like, did, like, a, you know, an arc thing. You know, like the really cheesy Tumblr photos that girls used to do in the pool, where they would, like,
water.
Yeah, so it was basically that on stage, and, like, my manager at the time was like, yo, that was sick. It looked like you had, like, a mohawk, and I think he called it, like, the girl hawk or something, and you should do that more. So me being hyper competitive with myself, not with others, but with myself, which is a really weird trait, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and make this more dramatic the next time. So I, like, leaned back further, and then, like, it just kept going, and it didn't stop, and now my back hurts. So, you know, here we are.
Here we are with the foam roller,
Yeah.
getting that out.
So, and then I saw, like, there was, like, this video of this, I think it was, like, a female guitarist from, like, the 90s or something, and she used to do something similar, where she would, like, with the guitar bend all the way back. Ooh. And I was like, that's really cool. So then I started being like, okay, like, you know, she could go really far back. I was like, I wonder how far back I can go. And now I see a lot of artists doing that kind of thing, and it I don't know, I think it makes the coolest pictures on stage. So, but it hurts my back now, kind of. So I don't stretch enough as I should. It's always, like, the first night of a tour when we've been off for several months that I'm just like, I should have warmed this up, and then we get to the song and I forgot about it. I, like, didn't think about it, and I'm like, oh, well, here we go. And so, yeah. One day it'll bite me in the butt, but it has not yet. So
I mean, listen, you're still good. You still are looking in shape.
Yeah.
I see your workout photos you post.
I just started working out again. So
wait, you stopped?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I stopped and now I started again. So she's back.
She's back. I feel you. I've been on a workout regimen. I try to go at least 4 to 5 times a week.
Yeah.
It can be challenging, because sometimes I'm like,
just
so
go busy too. Like,
yeah.
And I feel like it's the thing that gets pushed back the most. I feel like, especially when you're, like, someone like you, where you kind of run your own world, and, like, you don't have necessarily a boss, and so you're the boss, and you're like, I'm gonna do all of these different things, and you have so many things you could be doing at any given time. It's so hard to be like, I'm going to prioritize the workout over like something else I could be doing. And that's always the biggest problem I have. I'm like, oh, I should be doing, like, this other thing. I should be, like, following up on my email, or I should be, like, you know, writing, or I should be doing this. Like, I'll work out tomorrow. So that's the hardest thing for me, is just being consistent with it and realizing that it is a priority, you know?
Yeah.
So
I started scheduling. I have to schedule my calendar now. Like, even nap times.
I do that too.
Schedule.
Nap times? I can't nap. I'm not a napper. I have extreme life FOMO.
Naps.
I have life FOMO. I'm like, I could be doing anything else. Even if it's relaxing, even if it's, like, reading a book or playing a game, or, like, something that's, like, for me.
Yeah.
When I'm sleeping, I'm like, I'm not doing anything. and I'm missing out on something I could be doing. I've always been, like, since I was a little kid, I have extreme FOMO.
Chrissy, I'm telling you,
FOMO.
When you hit 30, it changes, girl. It changes because before then, I did not take naps. I was on like, listen, I'm up and at it.
But were you like allergic to naps? Like, I could be falling asleep standing up, and I'm like, I will not nap.
Even in my late 20s, I did not nap.
But
girl, I was living in New York. We never slept.
Yeah.
I was always going. Yeah. And I would run on like 3-4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
But then like I feel like when I hit 30, I don't know, it's like this clock, this body clock where it's like, oop, time's up. Enjoy the rest of your life. It's gonna be a little bit down from here. And it's just like my body started aching, my knees started popping.
Oh yeah.
Waking up, it takes a lot slower. Yeah. It gets late, and I'm like, even now, like for example, whenever we hang out with our friends group, have you noticed we always do a little bit early?
Oh yeah.
I can't stay for some reason. I can't stay up past midnight.
We're like, we're getting to midnight.
I feel
like it's like 10 o'clock and everyone's like, all right, pack it up. It's past bedtime, guys. Like, you know.
It depends. I've hung out like Degon and I have hung out past midnight, but like even then,
I've done some once in a while. So it is really weird because when I'm home, I love to go to sleep. Not go to sleep early, but I love to just like wind down early. I don't like to be out. I like to be like in my sweatpants at like 8 o'clock. But on tour, my whole day is so shifted. Sometimes I don't go on stage till 9 o'clock.
Yeah. And
then after you get off stage, you have to like shower, then I eat dinner, then I'm like, so my whole day is like much later. So sometimes, a lot of time on tour, I'm not going to bed until like 2 a.m., something like that. And like sometimes I just can't shut my mind off because I just was on stage and I'm like, bah. So yeah, my whole day shifts. I'll go to bed at like 4 a.m. But when I'm home, like you put me on the couch and I'll just like.
Okay. That's why my couch is so comfortable. That's why I love naps. I'd be laying on there watching. Right now I'm watching this show called Zom 100. It's an anime show. Ooh. So basically it's about like this guy. He hates his job. It's like exploitative. And then like a zombie apocalypse happens and he's like having a blast because he's like, I don't have to go to work anymore. He's like, fuck that job. And he's like, 100 things I need to do before I turn to a zombie. And it's such a good vibe. Like he turned like such a negative thing into like a really positive vibe.
That's really cute. I like that a lot. That's kind of, I mean, like, that was kind of, people did do that a little bit during the pandemic, was like, you know, they were like, all right, well, the world's ending, so, like, I'm going to start gardening now. Like, you know, I'm going to learn to bake bread. I've never baked bread before. Let's bake some bread. Like, I was like, I look back on that and I'm like, I don't miss all the negative things that came with it, but I'm like, I do miss the baking bread. I miss being just like, yeah, I'm going to bake bread today.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to do this, you know, let's make some pasta.
Yeah.
Something. You know,
it's so wholesome.
It's a whole vibe. So you also utilize gaming as part of your career. How did that happen? How did you even like?
Dude, I ask myself that every day.
Like, you know, because I know it was you did the anthem for League for the championship or champions, excuse me.
Yeah.
Did I go? Wait, what did it go? Gold?
It went gold, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
She on her way to platinum, for sure.
Moving on up.
Yeah, so that definitely formalized me having a career in gaming. But before that, I mean, I've gamed since I was little. My mom put me in front of a computer when I was 3 years old and was like, this is in the 90s. And she was like, this is going to be really important, like computer skills. I don't think she meant video games, but she put me in front of like some educational video games, like some math ones and like Freddy Fish and Putt Putt and those kind of things. And I have gamed ever since. So I was just a huge gamer. I started playing League at 16. I loved League of Legends, so I've just been a huge gamer the whole time. And then I did some little bit of streaming on Twitch prior to doing Legends Never Die, and just a little bit though. And people were like, you know, oh, you should stream because, you know, I posted about loving League, and they're like, oh, why don't you stream on Twitch? I didn't really know what Twitch was. I was like fully on YouTube, so I didn't know anything about like live content as much. We only did like a couple live streams ever, so I did it like every now and again, but not in any formal way. I didn't try and make any money from it. I was just like, oh, this is fun, like, you know. And then the anthem happened, Legends Never Die, and then 2 years later I got asked back to do Phoenix, and then it just, since then it had kind of like snowballed into all these other things. Like Ven kind of came out of that, and because some of the guys,
I love Wildfire.
Yeah, well then we did Wildfire, yeah, and some of the guys at Ven had come from Riot, so that's how I knew them, and so it was just that really just formalized it, and it snowballed into so many. And now I've done hosting, and that was random as well. Kind of, it was just someone, Stefan at Riot, who kind of just said,
Yes.
yeah, he kind of just to me was like, hey, do you want to host the red carpet for Arcane? And I was like, I've never hosted anything before. And he's like, I think you'd be good at it. And besides the Ven show, but for me, my show wasn't. There was no teleprompter. It was just live streaming together, like co-streaming. So I was like, I've never done anything like this. He's like, you'll be fine. Never had read a prompter before or anything. That was my first experience there, and that's kind of led into some of the stuff I've done with Valorant now. And so it's all been by accident, just happy accident. Yeah. So there has never been a plan. There's never been an intention. I just kind of fell into all of it. So, I mean, the same thing kind of happened in music. Like, we just started making music for fun, but there was never like, we should do this because it's going to lead to this. We were just like, this is fun. So, I feel a little like Michael Cera in that way. Like, you ever know, like, the joke about Michael Cera? Like, everyone's like, I think he just accidentally happened into acting and never let anyone know, like, because that's how he acts. And I was like, that's kind of how I feel about both music and gaming. It's like, I never planned for it to come here.
Yeah.
I would have aspired to it. Yeah, like, this is the dream for me, but didn't have a plan. Just showed up.
I mean, that's fine. Honestly, I feel like a lot of people have that. Because that's the same thing with me. I never planned to be in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I started my career behind the camera.
Yeah.
And then I started covering gaming from, like, an editorial perspective. And then one of my friends now Amanda Stevens introduced me to my friend Brandon at Cheddar, and he was like, hey, we're looking for co-hosts. Do you want to, try out? I'm like, yeah, sure.
That's cool.
And then I got it. And then from there, it was just like a trickling effect.
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes it is like, I feel like in the creator economy, people think that everything needs to be planned and you have to follow a blueprint. But sometimes it's just right timing, passion, part of it's luck.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just fall into things.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is luck and timing too. I mean, obviously, like, it's great to have, like, what it is that thing needs, whether it's a skill set, whether it's a personality, whether it's a voice, whatever it is. But, that's why I always feel like a big phony when people are like, what's some of your advice for budding musicians? I'm like, hell if I know. Like, don't ask me. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing to this day, but just keep making music. That's all I can say is, like, eventually, time and place. But I'm sure there are a lot of people with much better answers than that. That's kind of what, back to what we started with, is like that blueprint. There is a blueprint now. There is a format, and you can exploit that. And I don't even mean that in a negative way, but you can use that blueprint and potentially get a lot of success from it. And, like, that's cool too. I didn't do that. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't know how to tell people how to do that. So that's the advice people want. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
No, that's fine. I think that an advice they can take away from your experience is just be you and do what you love. Sometimes that's all it takes. There's a blueprint, there's strategy and things like that. But I would say that to get yourself into the door, it takes just that passion and that interest. And then to continue to push yourself through that door, that's when strategy, building a team, and having the right people around you, it comes into play.
Yeah, get other people who know better than you do. I also think I do think that one of the biggest takeaways that, looking back on my career, that I could give would be, don't be afraid to try things that maybe don't seem on the path for you, if that makes sense. I think people are really resistant to doing things that they feel like is a distraction from whatever their goal is. I loved gaming, and putting time into gaming led me to getting a gold record. So the reason we got connected with Riot is because I was publicly playing games. Mm-hmm. And I remember during the pandemic, a lot of musicians, some of which who, like, were not into gaming at all, and even kind of gave us shit for doing so much stuff in gaming and called us, like, a fake band. During the pandemic, we were like, hey, Chrissy, like, you want to stream on Twitch together sometime? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, go away. Go back to your holier than thou music pedestal, because gaming is not cool enough for you. So So don't be afraid to try new things, even if it seems so different than what you've been doing. It's really okay to do other things. And sometimes it's really interesting how it can lead back to the overall goal that you might have had.
And the important part of that is that you want to have people on your team who also align and understand that.
Yeah.
And you and I had conversations where we've talked about having people on our team that did not fully align with where we want to go, what we want to do, fully agree with everything. So how do you navigate that situation where you have maybe a management that you don't see eye to eye with, and then making the decision to get rid of them? And I don't say that in a bad way. Like, getting rid is not like, oh, they're a horrible person, but like, business is business.
We're from New Jersey. It's just business.
It's just business.
It's just business. No, I think, and sometimes it's not that one person's right or wrong. Sometimes it's that there's just not a fit. There's not a culture fit. Sometimes it's that someone is really wrong and someone's really right. And, it could be anywhere in between. I think it's tough. I think it's also tough when you're starting your career and you might feel like you don't know better. And it's easy to kind of, that's something that I think was the case with us, with everyone that we worked with. Not just manager, but agent, label, etc. We were kind of like, everyone else knows better than we do. We're going to defer to them. And you lose sight of the point where you actually do know better, or you at least know yourself better and you know what you want better. And I think, as much as I say I'd never had a plan and don't know what I'm doing, I do know what I want and I do know who I am. So I think checking in with yourself is really important and saying, what is it that I want? Even if it's just a feeling, even if it's just a culture. Like, I just want positivity, or I just want a willingness to do anything, or I want someone that is really hardball because my goal is just to make a ton of money. That's, some people, that's their goal. It wasn't for me, but like, if that's what you want, you need someone that's going to go out and chase those deals for you. So it's just, what do you want your life to feel like, your job to feel like, your career to feel like? Being transparent with your manager is really important. They can't read your mind. I think a lot of times it's really easy to say like, they're not doing a good job, but they don't know that they're not doing a good job, or they're not, up to your standards. And also just not being afraid to walk away too. Yeah. And don't feel bullied into signing things either. I think that was the biggest thing, is I always felt afraid early on to kind of speak up about predatory contracts and be like, hey, this is uncomfortable, because I felt that if I said no, that they would just walk away. And that's okay if they do. Probably for the best. There are tons of contracts I wish I never signed because it had long-term repercussions. My label was a big one there. It had really long-term repercussions, and I was really locked into that, and I finally got off of that after spending like 10 years of my life on this label. And they could have kept us on longer, theoretically. We got lucky that we were able to be, kind of end that relationship. So if something makes you uncomfortable, don't be afraid to speak up, because there are good people out there. There are equitable relationships out there. Yes, there's give and take. Everyone needs some security, but there's a reasonable amount of security, and then there's a predatory amount of, hey, I'm going to lock you into this thing and have this crazy 10-year sunset that, like, you're going to be paying me on all your future things, and you're just like, wait, what? So yeah, I think just stick to your guns, ask around, ask what your friends have. I think that's the other thing too in this industry. No one wants to talk about money. No one wants to talk about contracts. No one wants to like show their hand, which is a really weird thing, because why? If we were all more transparent, it makes it a lot better. Then I only learned certain things from asking friends, being like, hey, like, in your management, do they do this? Or is this part of your deal? Mm-hmm. And learning what was normal and what wasn't normal, or what was normalized that shouldn't have been, because that's also, different. And that helped me a lot make better decisions going forward. And then our manager now, when I sat down to him, I was so clear with what I wanted. I was so clear with what I didn't want. And I was so clear with what I wouldn't tolerate. Yeah. And don't sign anything that locks me into something. I was like, I need freedom to leave. You have freedom to leave. Like, this is a balanced, fair thing. So yeah, I think it takes a lot of uncomfortable conversations, and that's hard when you're starting out. But I think just knowing what you want and what you're okay with is really important.
I mean, also, like, and I don't say this in a bad way, but they work for you. So like you have to
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's like they work for you. It's not the other way around. And I think sometimes creators treat it as if it's the other way around when it's like no, like, and when I say that, it's not like you have to be like an asshole or something like that, but it's understanding that like it's their job to help you succeed and to get what you need. Like I remember when I spoke to before I signed with CAA, I told them what I would tolerate, what I would not tolerate. I said, I'm a very persistent person. Yeah. I have a certain speed. If you can keep up with it, great. If you can't, you're not the right person for me. I'm very honest. I will ask for things, and I'll ask for things even if you don't believe I can get it. Well, guess what? I believe I can, because I've gotten a lot of stuff that people think I couldn't get, and I've gotten it. And so like I was very like firm. But then again, I feel like my agents are based out of New York City, so like they get the energy that I have and stuff like that. And then the one thing too, I made sure my CAA contract was only 2 pages. I was like, I don't want all this fluff and crap.
Simple,
I want it simple, 2 pages.
I agree.
Nothing crazy.
Yeah.
And then we even had an agreement where I was like, if you guys don't do well, you have to put in my contract that I can change the percentage if you're not doing a good job.
Yeah.
So it's like just being okay with like asking for these things. But I think a lot of young creators going back, like when you start, you're just happy to be here.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's good. It
can be hard.
But like you got to get to the point where you got to understand it's a business too. Like you can be happy, but you got to treat it like a business too.
To protect yourself.
Exactly.
And I think the biggest thing that I realized too, and you don't have to flip the switch either, where you're like, I'm going to take from you now because I've been preyed upon. I didn't want to do that either. I think what's important is to realize that high tides rise all ships. And if everyone's working hard and if your career is succeeding, everyone should be benefiting. So it shouldn't be like, I've had managers before want percentages of things that didn't make sense or want a higher percentage on a deal that they worked versus a deal that I had a pre-existing relationship with. And I'm like, at the end of the day, like X% of 0 is $0. X% of, some amount is that amount of dollars. And if you get me more money, then we all get more money type thing. So it's one of those things where if it's an equitable relationship, it's when everyone's working hard and everyone's succeeding and things are happening, everyone benefits. It shouldn't be contentious. You're on the same team. I think a lot of times people on both sides forget that. It's like, we're all on the same team. We're working towards the same goal here. So when it goes well, we all, benefit from that. So I just think learning how to set healthy boundaries and contracts to be like, when something happens, we all benefit. But if nothing happens, none of us benefit, and understanding that. Because I've seen contracts too where it's like, hey, you have to pay me this regardless of if I get anything for you. And you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. And why are you here? Like, so I think creators in any industry, whether you're a musician, etc., people assume you don't know anything. So the more you know, the more you can protect yourself. So it is important. It's the least fun part of the industry, of any creative industry for sure. But the more you can research, the better you'll be in a position to, speak for yourself and advocate yourself, because you do put people in your corner. You do put a manager in your corner or a lawyer in your corner. But who's in your corner when you're negotiating with them, right? Like at some point, it's just you. So you have to make sure that you can advocate for yourself, at least to some degree.
Yeah. And then even the latter end, right? Because I know we're taking the perspective of like having the right manager stuff. I think the other thing is creators have to learn when is it the right time to get management and agent. I think there's a lot of creators that want managers and agents. They don't need it. What they need is better time management. Yeah. And other better skills before they get to that point. Because sometimes what I feel like some may not understand is like when you get a manager and agent, that's when you have to do more work.
Yeah.
Like, that's not like when you get to coast. Like, you don't get to chill, it's because now it's like, okay, I got to keep doing the work and bringing the work so I can have this person continuously bringing me the work. Because if it falls down, like sometimes they may go on to another client or stuff like that. Not every single person does, but it does happen. But speaking of relationships too, we're not gonna get into the whole situation. But I know you had a situation with mods and fans. So when it comes to that, relationship and connection you have with your fans. Like, I know you're someone who speaks up when you're like, whenever you feel like something or someone oversteps your boundary, you speak up. But sometimes I think that maybe some people may be afraid to do that because they don't want to lose their fans, or they don't want to come across a certain way. So for you, how do you manage that kind of connection dynamic with your fans?
I think it's a learning process, and I also think it's definitely different for everyone. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all solution. I think it's cliche, but it's really important to remember that you will never make everyone happy. You will always upset someone, no matter what you do. It doesn't matter. You could do everything right, so you think. Someone will be upset about it for one reason or another. So if you can let go of that, the fact that you will never make anyone happy, you realize that at least you can make yourself feel not even just happy, but at peace with your decisions, set the right boundaries, etc. And I think I've spent a lot of my career wanting to be a people pleaser, wanting to make everyone happy, whether it's management, but also fans, my parents, everyone around me, my bandmates, just being like, hey, I want to do right by everyone all of the time. And that's just not possible, and to do right by yourself all of the time. And I think it's a balance. It's a balance between recognizing that your fans give you the platform and give you your career, and they're the ones for me that are coming to the shows and streaming my music. So I'm not going to, I've seen artists go the other way and be like, fuck the fans. I'm just going to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And it's like, that's cool, but you can't expect them to show up. That's, then they get mad like, oh, no one likes our new music. Like, yeah, maybe they don't. They're a fan of your music. If they don't like your new music, you can't force them to. So I hate that mentality. But you have to understand, like, hey, if I want to do this, I'm going to sacrifice this. That's the trade-off. There's always some kind of trade-off. So for me, it's always been difficult to find that balance where making myself happy, making the fans happy, making my bandmates happy, everyone happy. So I think you just do your best, but you do have to set some boundaries. You have to figure out what those lines in the sand are, or not even in the sand, I guess, in concrete are, that you're like, I will not cross these. These are too far. There's always going to be some kind of give and take, but knowing where those concrete lines are is really important, and I didn't know where those lines were for a really long time. I would just give until there was nothing left to give, and I'd still be making people unhappy. And then that would drive me crazy. I would be like distraught, being like, oh, someone's upset. I've caused one person, even if it's one singular person. I haven't done right by one person. And I had people in my life be like, hey, like, it's one person. You have thousands of fans, hundreds of thousands of fans, like, you can't get hung up on one person, but I would, and it would eat away at me. And I wouldn't be, and to the point where I was like, I don't even want a career in the spotlight anymore. I don't want to be in front of people. And I've had that happen a lot over the years, and even a lot recently as well with, I think, live streaming makes you very accessible, and social media makes you very accessible, and people, they do get these parasocial relationships where they feel that they can criticize every piece of you and that they have an ownership over you, and when you deviate from their picture of you, they have every right to criticize to an extreme degree and be mad and be angry and be personally hurt by it. And that's really, really hard to balance. So I do think, it's just learning about taking a step back, remembering that you are a person, and you don't really owe anything to anyone but yourself, but they also don't owe anything to you either. So, but it's really hard. It's like I struggle with it a lot. It's something that I don't have the playbook on.
Yeah. Oh no, same here. I mean, that's why I go to therapy, to be able to be able to manage it all, because it's hard. Like for as much as people say like, oh, like these things don't bother me, like at a certain point it does get to you.
It totally bothers me.
And it's tough.
I'll be the first to say it. It bothers me a lot. Like
Yeah.
I won't pretend like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like, no.
Oh, but it's also like finding that balance, like you said, right? Like for me, one of those balance to keep the healthy balance is like I have people who help me with my social media now, so like I don't have to see certain things, because I, like, for example, I felt like Twitter was impacting me personally, and like
I can't go on Twitter.
Like now I have people who run my Twitter. So I mean, I jump on like now and then, but like to avoid me seeing certain stuff, like just so I can focus on like keeping my mental health good, I have that protection now.
I debate deleting my Twitter almost every day. like almost every day. Because every time like I go on the newsfeed too, like on my For You page, it's just like negative.
It is.
Negative. Like even about things that are positive, it's negative.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know. I went down a deep rabbit hole recently on like interior decorating, for example, and trying to figure out, how I want to, decorate my office, things like that. And I just see people can't just say, oh, I love this thing. It's so great. They have to say, I love this. I hate sad beige aesthetic. Like, it's so dumb. It's so terrible. It's so boring. You look like everyone else. You're vanilla. Why can't you just like what you like?
Yeah.
And that's with everything on Twitter. So I'm just like, I can't do this anymore.
Or if you don't like it, just keep swiping. Just keep going your day. You don't have to comment. Like, you don't need an opinion for everything.
Yeah, and it's just, you don't have to prove that what you like is better than something else. You can just like it. It's okay. Yeah. Like, it's cool. Just like it.
Or just be like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go have lunch.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Love a lunch.
I know. I love food. But
yeah.
So it's quite interesting that you don't like Twitter.
Can't stand it.
But what's fascinating about it is that you actually are open about certain personal aspects of your life. Actually, you're honestly more open than I am. I try to keep a closed book. I'm just like, grr. Yeah. So you obviously are open with your relationship. Mm-hmm. And then not too long ago, you're open with your sexuality. Mm-hmm. That was really funny when it happened because like your fans were like, we're not even surprised.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm in my everything is fake era where I'm like, this is all like, we're just like, nothing is real. Like everything is just like, you're just told what everything is. Like, I don't know. There's all these like, growing up, like in Against the Current, our whole thing is we don't want to be put in a box. People would be like, what genre are you? Like, oh, you're pop punk. You have to do this. You have to play this festivals. You have to do like whatever. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, we're not pop punk. We're not pop rock. We're not pop. We're not rock. Like, I don't know. We just are. Like, depends on the song. So I just hate the concept of boxes and like being put in a box and also feeling like you owe anyone the answer, like to like what are you? What is your career? What is like what do you do? Like when people ask you like, what do you do? Like you can't. There's not one answer. No. You're not like, hey, I'm Erin. I'm this. Yeah. Like I like work at this or I do this one thing. It's like that is the worst thing ever. It is so limiting, and I hate. So I'm in my anti-box label.
It's also an LA thing too.
I'm just like I don't know and I don't care like that, and you shouldn't care either. That's like I think my thing with everything is like we're all so nosy about everyone else's business, and that's been kind of my thing, and I'm just like I don't know and I don't know. So like that's my answer to everything. It's like I don't know and I don't care.
I've been saying that.
I'm just vibing. I'm just alive.
Same.
Like
people be like, "Oh, did you see this drama on Twitter?" I'm like, I don't care.
I don't know.
Like, I don't care. I don't care who's mad at who and who said what on stream. I just don't care.
But we just get that like and Against Current we've gotten that so much. It's like what genre is it? And I'm like I don't know. Like what's the new music? Like what genre is the new music? What is it gonna sound like? Is more this, more that? I don't know. Like I don't know. Like, that's truly I'm just tattooed across my forehead. I don't know.
But, I think part of it, too, is, like, everything is so categorized. Like, everything is. Like, even going back to, like, content creation and just being a creator, like, people are always like, oh, what's your niche? It's like,
I don't know.
Me. Yeah. I just say me. well, but I'm like, well, what category? Whatever I want to do. Like, I don't know. Like, it's
I'm
like,
vibing.
It's vibing. And, like, you can always find your specific success in that. Like, you don't have to take one specific lane. I also, like, I don't know. I've always hated being in a box because I'm like, I don't like doing just one thing. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's like I get bored easily.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to just do one thing. I always aspire, like, I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, that's also kind of why, like, I stopped doing esports stuff. Because I actually didn't like people just calling me an esports host. I'm like, I'm a host. I can host anything.
Host period.
But like, oh, you're an esports host. I'm like, nope.
Sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah. Sometimes I could be an esports host. Sometimes I could be a sports host. Sometimes I would love to be a food host. Oh my God. That's like a dream of mine.
That is my dream. Show. That is one box you can put me in. I will go in that box.
Like, I that's like that's one of my goals. I'm working towards, like, I want to host a food show because I love food. I love food more than video games. I'm sorry. Like,
I think it's
food
reasonable.
is everything.
It's very reasonable.
It's very reasonable.
I think it's very reasonable.
And it's so good.
You cannot eat a video game.
No. And
a video game cannot keep you alive.
I don't get triggered by food. I get triggered by certain video games, but I don't get triggered by food. I may be like, this is not for me. I don't really like this, but I'll still eat it. Unless it's really, really bad.
I would love to push that boundary.
What do you mean?
And I would love to try and trigger you with the food.
Well, wait,
it's like
food,
I would love to like start presenting you with some wacky ass things from like around the world and be like, how far can we push it?
I don't think you'll trigger me. I've tried.
What's the weirdest thing you've eaten? Or like the most like terrifying thing?
I mean, I've eaten, I don't know. I've eaten a lot of different things. Like, I've eaten everything from like shark to turtles to, I don't know.
I will take this challenge.
I've eaten Okay, I'll take you up on that challenge. I'll take you up on that challenge.
I will take up this mantle.
Because I've never been a picky eater. I've always been someone, like, my rule is, like, you know how some people will be like, oh, I don't like that, but it's like, have you tried it?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. And it's like, so how do you know that you don't like it? Or have you tried the right kind? Because sometimes it's about getting the right kind. Like, for example, quiche. Like, quiche. No. I'm serious about it. Like, quiche, like, it's very specific. It's either good or it's bad.
Is quiche controversial?
No, but
quiche is always good.
No, it's not. No, it's not. You got to get the right quiche.
I think my
there's
standards
some
are
quiches
low.
that are bomb. Like, there's levels to quiche. There's also levels to certain other foods too. Like, okay,
I think I have low standards.
Okay, so for you, right? Like, for you, it's pasta. Because I remember you were like, wait, but that's not the right pasta. That's not the right Italian pasta.
Okay, I'm back.
Thing.
You got me back. Yeah. Because there are some pastas that I'm like, no. But okay, that is true. My thing is like, I was a picky eater. Not hyper picky.
Okay.
Just like a reasonable level of picky. And I also grew up in like an Italian American household. We ate pretty much Italian food.
Yeah.
Like, my understanding of Chinese food was chicken and broccoli. My understanding of Korean food was no idea. My understanding of Japanese food was sushi. Like, when I started touring, I was like, my mind exploded. The first time I went to China and went to like a dinner at a traditional, like with the big like round tables with the lazy Susan and like had like dim sum for the first time, I was like, my jaw dropped. I was floored. I was so mad because I grew up outside of New York City. Yeah. So I was like, but I just never sought it out. I was like, I couldn't I was thinking seek. I never suck it out. No, I never sought it out. So like my mind exploded. And now like I love so much food from around the world, but there was a lot of things because I had never tasted that flavor before at all, or like anything similar, that the first time I would eat something, I'd be like, that's a little weird. Like, I don't know about that. I hate now being picky. So I force myself to eat anything I don't like. Every time it's in front of me, I have the option to eat it, I will eat it until I like it.
Yeah, and
I bully myself. Like, I literally gaslight myself. I'm like, you like this thing. And like, the most recent one was like pickled ginger. I was just did not hated it, but you get it like with sushi. You get it on like sometimes when you get like yakisoba or like a udon bowl, they put it a little bit on top. And I would always like put it off to the side. And I was like, you know what? No. And so now every time it came up, I would just shove it in my mouth and be like, I'm going to eat this. And now I love ginger. It's like, I'm so like used to it now that like now I'm like, oh my God, like, yeah, give me some ginger. So I'm so sorry. I keep hitting you. But yeah, so I bully myself until I like food because I don't like not liking things.
It's like different forms I like and certain forms I don't. So another one is red beans. I like, it depends on what form. And then I also know that, like, for example, like the way
like
that
red beans in like Spanish food or red beans in like Asian,
like Asian,
like red bean bun, mochi, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, like
you can put red bean on anything and I will eat it.
But it depends because like I tried like the Korean version of it and I didn't really like it, but then I tried the Chinese version of it and I loved it. It's like the way that they make it.
Okay, I need to cross compare because
also like for example, like I didn't even know this, like even like bakeries and desserts are different. Like Chinese, they don't like super sweet. For those who are like, oh, Erin, you're not Asian, why are you talking? guys, I date someone who's Chinese, okay? I can talk about this. I had to put that disclaimer because, they'd be like, you want to. And also, I got Ben over here. Hey, Ben. They can't see him. But, like, I tried red bean, and it was mooncake. It's like this.
Love mooncake.
I love mooncake. But they're saying, like, it's too rich. I don't think it's that rich. I actually like it.
I think they're just, like, they're shockingly calorically dense. So if you're someone who ever cares about calories, just don't ask. Just don't read if it's one of the packaged ones, just don't read it. You don't need to know.
Yeah,
you don't need to know.
Love mooncake.
It's okay.
And then,
just eat them. They're delicious.
They are. And then I also found out, like, so my partner spent like a couple months in Korea. Did you know? I didn't know they put sugar on like garlic bread.
I didn't know that either, but I do know there's a lot of like dipping sauces and stuff in general that you put like sugar in.
Like anything baked goods.
Yeah.
There's like sugar.
That doesn't surprise me because like even in like a lot of sauces in a lot of different Asian cuisines, you put like either brown sugar or table sugar to like sweeten it a little bit.
Yeah.
I always see like healthy version, put honey. I'm like, no, like no, put the brown sugar. It's good. But like, yeah, it's just so interesting. Oh God, I love food.
Oh dang, I just realized
the red bean's funny though.
I just outed my relationship. It's okay. It's out. It's out.
Plot twist, it was Ben the whole time.
Ben's my It Takes Two partner.
Oh,
we're gonna be playing video games. Yes, he finally.
Ben's
he's been, like,
dancing.
talking
You
about
can't
playing
see
it.
it.
I'm like, Ben, I'm here. I'll play video games.
I love It Takes Two. It's such a good game.
It's so cute, but it's so
It
weird.
makes or breaks relationships, though.
Oh yeah.
It's like if you guys get through it, you're the ones. But if you don't, it's a good way. Honestly, that's a good litmus test of any relationship. It's like just play It Takes Two with them. And if they don't want to play it, Ben, if they don't want to play it.
But how do they make divorces look so like cute storytelling?
I know.
Like divorces ain't that cute.
They are not. Whoa! You know what? Actually, I do have one of my.
Yeah, it's about a divorce.
one of my best friends. Her parents are divorced, and they're like best friends still.
That's cute.
Yeah. So
sometimes
it can happen. It can happen.
But also people outgrow. You know?
Yeah. Some people
especially
just
if they like marry young. So my mom told me, she was like, don't get married in your 20s because who you are in your 20s is not going to be who you are later on.
Dude, I'm not the same person I was this morning. Like,
well, duh, you woke up and just put your hair in a bun.
That is like I've thought about that a lot because like I'm just like I love to overthink things, like love to chronically overthink things, and I'm always just like, I don't know, I change so much on a day-to-day basis, yet I'm also shockingly consistent in other things. So I don't know, but yeah, I hear that, like, that making that is a big decision, but yeah, I do think there is like an if you know type thing, as cheesy as that is.
Yeah.
On my first date with my partner, I knew. First date. And it never changed. We've been together a couple years now, and it never changed. But it was just like, it was very just like obvious to me. And I don't know that everyone has that experience when they find the right person, but like for me, it was just like, oh, like it was just such like a little like ding moment. And I had been in long-term relationships before. My relationship, not my last one, but the one before that was like 4 years. And the whole time I was sitting there like, I don't know, like this is not like maybe, who knows? Like, so I don't know. But
I think in my relationship, it takes work in the sense of like, there's a cultural difference.
Yeah.
So
there's still work.
There's nuances to that cultural difference. And then even communication difference. I feel because like for as much as people always talk crap about like New Jersey, New York, I'm a very straight like communicator.
Yeah.
And my partner, not only is from the West Coast, well, originally from Hawaii, but from the West Coast. Not only that, but grew up in a Chinese household. Mm-hmm. Talk about feelings? No. Like that's not a thing. Yeah. And so navigating that, we're like, I grew up in a Hispanic household. So it's probably like Italian. Emotions are everything.
Yeah.
Like
emotions are everything, but also like we don't go to therapy.
Yeah.
And like that I didn't learn until I was older. Like Italian, it was like, what do you mean you think you need therapy? Like what do you like? You're fine. Like okay. Like
same. It was like, well, what do you need to go talk to about therapy? Like,
yeah. Talk to me.
Go do something with your life. Get a job.
Talk to your uncle. Why?
Go eat some food. Yeah. I don't know, but it's like navigating that has been very interesting.
I can see that
to quite like figure out. But I don't know. It's also, I don't know for you how it. I mean, we can go on and on, but like I feel like it's also interesting to navigate relationships when you're a public figure. I think, like, for you, at least with you and your partner, like, you both are kind of public figures.
Yeah.
In some shape or form. Like, mine isn't. And, like,
Right.
I try to, like, protect my partner as much as possible from that. Because I don't want my partner to deal with, like, a lot of the stuff that I deal with.
We are both somewhat public figures, but also have similar ethos to being a public figure where we, like, don't want to be, like, overly public all of the time about everything.
Yeah.
I had a relationship with someone who was not a public figure, but really wanted to be. And I don't, like, I share my boyfriend, but not, like, over. It's not, like, every day where I'm like, bah, 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 bah. You probably see more because you're all, like, my close friend story.
Yeah.
Sorry, suckers. But,
Actually, honestly, to break the news, it's just the cats.
It's mostly the cats. It is mostly the cats. It is honestly, like, I would say 9 times out of 10, it's the cats. Well, 8 times out of 10 it's the cats. 1 time it's me asking for adult help because I don't.
Yeah. I did see that.
Like the other day, I was like, I want to get some shelves installed. Like, who do I call for that? Like, where do I go?
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, it's just for being self-sufficient for a very long time. I did grow up in the music industry and, like, on the road, so I'm very savvy out in the world. But then when it comes to just, like, being at home and doing, like, home things, I'm like, wait, how do these things get done? I call my mom all of the time. And I'm like, Mom, how do you wash this? Like, how do you do this? Like, how do I get a stain out of like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like a baby duck. And I'm like, the world is so big. But yeah, I lost the plot. I don't know what we were talking about. But anyways, oh yeah, he was like, he's also somewhat a public figure, but also more private. But I did date someone who really wanted to be a public figure and was, like, very insistent on me posting them. And I was just like, I just wanted at that moment, I was like, I really want, like, my relationship to just be mine and not be public and not share everything with everyone all the time. So I think sometimes it can be tough to balance when, like, one person's a public figure and one's not, or if there's a difference in desire of how public you are.
Security,
you know what I mean? Like, how much you want to be, like, out there in the world and how much you want to just keep to yourself. So I think that's like always can be like a very tricky thing to navigate in any kind of relationship.
The one thing that I've learned over time, it's less about being a public, like who you're dating being a public figure or not. It's more about, are they grounded and are they secure? Oh, I know.
I feel like it down.
It goes down and down and down. It's going down, going on, swinging.
I'm just gonna. I think I've just beat this poor microphone up so much.
It's getting tired of all the hits and smacks and all that stuff.
I'm so sorry.
But it's no.
Also, you're gonna start hearing my stomach growling soon. It's my toxic trait. I was actually on set for something yesterday. And I was trying to do a voiceover, and, like, it was one of the things where the microphone's, like, here. Yeah. It's, like, one of, like, the sticky ones that, like, goes under your shirt.
Yeah.
And every time my stomach growled, like, it was so loud. And they were like, all right, we have to do it again. And I was like, oh, so sorry. So embarrassing.
Well, I won't hold you any longer because I also need to eat, too. When girls need to eat, we gonna eat. But my last question to you, and you can take some time thinking. Don't worry. That's what editing's for. What's the one thing about you that you are willing to share that no one really knows?
Oh, that's so deep.
I mean, it doesn't have to even be deep. You could say you have 7 toes. I mean, whatever you want to go with,
I don't. That would be much more interesting than whatever I'm about to say, though. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to say, but that would be much more interesting.
Yeah. I'm just curious, too, because, like, as your friend, I'm curious.
We love editing.
Mm-hmm. Take your time.
I'm trying to think. All I can think of right now is that Selena Gomez clip where she's like, my heart. You know what I mean? Have you seen that clip?
No.
Okay. Well, that's all I'm like, that's the, like, because it's just like, what's one thing you want people to know you about? It's like my heart. I don't know what she meant by it, but, like, it's in my head right now. But I don't know. Maybe that I'm like,
I told you I was going to come out swinging.
I know. I'm trying to think, like, I'm trying to think of what it could be. Like, part of me wants to say, this sounds weird, but I'm way more sensitive than I let on. So I, like, really, I try not to be publicly, but I really take things very personally and deeply to heart. I feel a lot of responsibility for everyone in my life and also all of my fans / our fans for my band. And so, yeah, I don't know. Things really deeply affect me that you don't think would, I guess. So, yeah, sometimes when I go in my little rabbit hole of not being on social media or streaming or anything for a really long time, and people are like, where did you go? It's like, sometimes I just feel too much and can't rectify those feelings. And I'm like, I need to go in my underground hole for a while. So
something wrong with that. Something wrong with that. To feel a lot is a gift, because there are some people who don't feel and don't have empathy.
Yeah, the lack of empathy, not so much, but the lack of feeling, maybe just a little, we do a little trade. I give you a little bit, you give me a little bit, whoever you are, be nice.
You can put it in your music.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry, no, I have one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I really don't like being proposed to in photos. I've never said it because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but I'm saying it now. I really hate it. It makes me really uncomfortable. Please stop proposing to me, because I feel weird about it, because I feel obligated to say yes, but I don't want to get married to you. I'm sorry.
Oh.
That's it. That's the
wow.
thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. I don't know. I saw something this morning about, people proposing to celebrity, like compilations of fans proposing to celebrities. It's like, it's a little uncomfortable for me. I know for other people, we feel a little weird about it. It's a little too much.
All right, so no proposing.
Please don't propose to me anymore.
All right. Well,
I feel bad for my relationship. I'm like, I'm sorry. I've accepted 800 engagements this year. I'm really sorry about
my
it.
minimum is 300, okay?
Yeah.
Can't go past that point.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Oh.
It's been on my chest for a while. That feels good.
It's been on your chest. Well, I'm glad you got it off your chest. I'm glad you feel like a lighter woman now after this. But Chrissy, for those who don't know what your social media is, where can they find you? Where can they follow you, your band? Stay up to date.
I think I'm Chrissy Costanza, like George Costanza, on most things. And then Against the Current. I have to say it really slow, otherwise no one knows what I'm saying. They're all like, what? So Against the Current. I think if you Google it, you'll find something. I don't know what you'll find, but something will come up. So I'm not going to give you 100 links. Whatever, or you don't have to find me either. That's okay too.
Well, definitely go and find her. Chrissy, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's been great. You know what's been interesting? Like I told you, it's been great to have these conversations with friends. I never really have you guys in formal things like this. Yeah. It's always just been us going to get food and we just chat.
Yeah. It's nice.
It's nice.
Nice.
There's levels to it.
It's nice.
But Chrissy, thank you so much for joining us.
Me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you to all the viewers as well for tuning in. What did you like about what Chrissy said? Also, what food do you think Chrissy and I should try out? Do you think we'll get triggered? We shall see. Leave it in the comment section. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Also, please go hit it on the audio, Spotify, Apple, whatever you choose. It will help me out so much. And thank you guys. If you enjoyed today's episode and this guest, well, guess what? We have much more in store. My name is Erin Ashley Simon, and we'll see you next time on Real Gems.